only way it makes sense is if the assets are borrowed in the first place. So the ETF, in the case of GLD, could very well be sitting, with pictures of gold in the vault, but that's no different than my leased car sitting in my garage. Now, it doesn't make it mine. It's a leased car. And this is, I think, the fundamental issue. But the ETFs were meant to be tracking vehicles, and they do a perfect job for that on a good day. But if the bullion is leased, you have to remember that the authorized participants are short sellers. They're short the bullion. And there is no obligation for them to keep the premium discount in line other than on a good day. In the flash crash, the authorized participants stepped aside and allowed the ETF shares to crash and then bought in after they crashed. That's what short sellers do.
So if you're a trader, let's just say that you're a day trader or you're a short-term trader, for that purpose, they're probably okay in the short term because you're not interested in storage, you're not interested in taking position.
You and I can have a bet on tomorrow's gold price without either one of us having any gold. We just both have to be good for the money if we lose the bet. But we don't need any gold to bet on tomorrow's gold price.
But when it comes down to any kind of crisis, and I can't help but believe, Nick, that sooner or later we've been managing to kick the can down the road. Well, the end of the road arrived in Greece, Portugal, and Spain. It's someday going to arrive in Japan, and someday it's going to arrive here. And with the growth in derivatives, all this paper transactions that we see, I wonder if we might point out next the difference between the paper market and the physical bullion market, because a lot of times what's happening in the paper market may have to do with a lot of leverage. It may be margin calls on hedge funds, high-frequency traders, bullion banks. It may have nothing to do with what's actually occurring in the physical market. And I've seen this over and over again when you're looking at premiums, whether you're looking at premiums for eagles, silver eagles, gold eagles, or even times trying to get bullion, because when I talk to bullion dealers, they keep telling me the stuff is flying off the shelves as soon as it comes in. Do you see that same thing?
Well, because we deal kind of in slightly different than the coins and small wafers that the coin dealers do, we have a slightly different experience in terms of the fund. But for example, last year, even though the gold price pulled back considerably, that we had very few in sense of redemptions. So that's a kind of interesting phenomenon. The real key to the fact is that the price of bullion is set by the futures price that then translates through a formula into the spot price. But the problem is the futures price is being set by and large by people that don't have any bullion. So it's like the ultimate in naked short selling. It's the same thing. So that's where the problem. There may be a noticeable difference with China opening up its futures market, and then for now it's localized. They require a considerable percentage of physical holdings to sell any kind of futures contract, which is the way it used to be, in terms of the COMEX. But now we've got a paper market setting the physical price. Sooner or later, that will diverge. It'll diverge dramatically where you'll have a much, much higher physical bullion price. The futures and the COMEX price will either catch up or cease to exist.
What about the idea, Nick, of other exchanges where they will probably be tighter on controls, where they don't allow, for example, a large amount of short selling, or maybe you might have to post more margin? What about other exchanges taken over from the COMEX, and especially the bad experience that many futures traders now have after the MF Global experience, and especially with the CME not coming to validate customer accounts?
Well, that's already happening in China in terms of their exchange. I think it's the PACE exchange, the Page exchange. Those kind of rules are there in place, and very shortly it'll be available, to international investors. Right now it's restricted to Chinese, but those rules are changing dramatically. And it's not just the gold or silver price where there's a lot of manipulation theory. It's across the board. It's simply, without having a limit on the amount of naked short selling that you can do, whether it's equities or commodities, you're going to have a problem. You've talked at length about the naked short selling in the equities markets and how it's been unenforced, but that's what's happening in the futures markets day in and day out.
So sooner or later, though, Nick, the game ends, and as more and more competition comes in, may it be someday in the future, let's say in the next 5 years, if you're going to be buying bullion or trading in the futures market, you probably will bypass the U.S., assuming the government allows you to do that.
Well, and this is where we get back to the issue of subtle financial repression. One of the elements of financial repression is capital controls, right? So there is no formal capital controls in place, but unless you're aware of investments in terms of the offshore world, you would find that the new FATCA regulations are going to eliminate the ability for most U.S. investors to set up any offshore accounts because those entities don't want you. The regulatory requirement under FATCA that the U.S. is imposing on foreign companies is huge. And what a lot of them are doing that I've talked to are just saying that if these regulations get imposed, we'll ask our U.S. clients to leave.
Well, in terms of what is practical to do for most investors, I know you have a fund, it's a mutual fund in Canada that investors, you own three types of bullion. You own gold, silver, and platinum. Let's talk about that and why you chose the three of them versus, let's say, just gold.
Well, we have two funds, the Gold, Silver, Platinum Fund, which is the original fund, and then we have a pure gold bullion fund. And the original one was set up that the theory being, allocate 5-10% of your portfolio to precious metals, and this makes it easy to have all three precious metals because each one has different attributes and goes up and down, although all of them have been going up generally together, but at different times one outperforms the other. Right now, for over the last year, silver has dramatically outperformed gold and platinum. Recently, platinum is outperforming. It's kind of in catch-up mode because of this anomaly of platinum being priced below the gold price, which is a very rare condition. So by having all three, you've got an internal diversification in that one investment. So that was the idea. I think long-term, both silver and platinum will likely outperform gold. So it gives you that idea for very different reasons in each case, but nevertheless, that's what I feel will be the case.
Well, Nick, as we close, why don't you give out your website and tell people what they can find there, and tell us a little bit about your new book that's coming out.
Well, the website is bmgbullion.com, and if they go to the homepage, there is a YouTube video of the Empire Club speech that I did in February, which is kind of indirectly an introduction to the book. It's called $10,000 Gold. And I talk about why I think that we'll get to that level in the speech. So it's had just under 13,000 views, so it seems to be viewed by quite a number of people overall.
Well, I look forward to talking with you when your book is published. We'd love to have you back on the program. In the meantime, give out your website.
It's bmgbullion.com. That's one word, BMG Bullion.
All right. We've been speaking with Nick Barashef, president of the BMG Group. Nick, as always, thanks for coming on the program.
Oh, as always, my pleasure, Jim.
You can subscribe to Financial Sense NewsHour in the iTunes and BlackBerry podcast libraries, or at feeds.feedburner.com/FSN. Find more information about our guests at www.financialsense.com/newshour. Friend us at www.facebook.com/financialsenseonline. For our on-the-go listeners, you can access Financial Sense on your mobile device at m.financialsense.com. The Financial Sense NewsHour is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered as a solicitation or offer to purchase or sell any securities. The investments, investment strategies, and investment philosophies discussed or presented on the NewsHour each involve their own unique risk factors, which are not discussed on the show. Responses to listener inquiries are based on the personal opinions of James Poplava and do not take into account listeners' suitability, objectives, or risk tolerance. Financial Sense NewsHour and its parent company shall not be liable for any financial losses that result from investing in any companies profiled on or advertising with Financial Sense, or arising out of the use of any material on the NewsHour. Be advised that you invest at your own risk.